It's gonna do in five, four, three, two, one. Hello, everyone. I'm here with my good friend Kim Simpson, a K through 12 communications professional and education expert. Kim, could you tell us a little bit about the work that you do?
Yes, so currently I serve as a director of communication for a mid-sized school district in Texas, Sherman Independent School District. It is about an hour north of Dallas, Fort Worth. I have been in school PR for the past 12 years, and I enjoy telling the story of my district as well as being an advocate for education for all students.
Kim, one of the things that I've been hearing from a lot of my friends who work in education is a discussion on how COVID 19 has exposed the digital gap between students. Can you explain what the digital gap is and how COVID 19 has brought these issues out?
Well, yes, obviously, COVID 19 has had a dramatic impact on the world of education throughout the nation, throughout the world. Um, when you talk about equity in education, it is something that most educators are familiar with. It is something that we all deal with on a daily basis because everyone is not able to be from an affluent community. It is very rare that you encounter a school that has 0% of students who are economically disadvantaged. It is the norm, however, to have students that are economically disadvantaged. So when you dive into those percentages, you tend to notice that students literally either have ways to connect through technology, and you have students that simply do not have access to technology. In March, when my school district decided to close down due to COVID 19, one of the things that made it extremely difficult for us to make that decision was the fact that we knew that our students would not be, that a lot of our students would not be able to connect. So while we were making the very difficult decision to shutter the doors of the district and not allow in person learning, we were literally developing a way to be able to provide virtual learning for all students, no matter of their ability to connect through technology. Um, One of the things that I have really prided myself on within my district and really have given kudos to all members of our district's team is the fact that within 4 days, we developed a virtual learning program that, for the most part, was able to provide access to all students. Now, that consisted of technology devices, that consisted of printed out material, and that also consisted of ways that we had to develop that consisted of ways that we had to become innovative to um, provide internet connectivity. When you think about what a lot of school districts had to do, I know for a fact my district first had to focus on how were we going to provide food to our students. And then the next big hurdle was how were we going to be able to provide technology and digital access to students who were without. So we were able to get the food covered pretty easily, with the community being able to pitch in and provide food, and with our food service staff providing 3 meals a day for students who were no longer able to attend school. The technology was the hard part because obviously we were limited on our devices, so we had to get creative. One of the things that we did was put Wi-Fi connectors in school buses, and we literally put them in areas with the most need. Now, we had to get that information from our parents. We had to ask questions. Do you have a laptop? And during this time, a lot of parents had a laptop, but those parents were also working from home. So having one laptop within the home still did nothing for our students who were without connectivity. So if they had a laptop, it was being used. And if they had multiple siblings in the household, then that left a student without connectivity. So we had to get those numbers in some sort of way, um, push devices out to our students that were in need. Obviously, we were not able to give everyone a device because that's just not the reality of our school district, but we were able to provide a lot of Wi-Fi connectivity. So students were able to connect on a parent's phone, on an iPad, on a Chromebook, on a laptop, on a desktop, whatever they had available. So we made sure that our virtual program was accessible on all different types of devices, and it allowed for our students to be able to connect while in quarantine and continue learning to the best of their ability through our virtual learning program. So COVID-19 has, well, I'll say this, educators throughout the nation have been aware of the economically disadvantaged and the equity issues that exist with technology devices, with food, and everything else in between. COVID-19 only brought that awareness and heightened that sense of students that typically go without, unfortunately, on a daily basis. COVID-19 has only brought this to the forefront, and hopefully conversations like what we're having right now, and as we move forward through the pandemic, hopefully it can really showcase the need that so many students have, and in turn perhaps the educational industry can get a revamp to where our students don't have to go without during a pandemic or without a pandemic.
Do you think that after COVID-19 that you'll see a lot of school districts investing more in technology and computers? Has that conversation come up before COVID-19, and how are you seeing these conversations change?
So yeah, I mean, within the state of Texas, obviously, and really within the nation, I mean, school districts get their funding when students are in school, bottom line. With students out of school, of course, we've had to really push for our legislature to really push for educators to be able to bend the rules a little bit. You know, if students are checked in virtually, then that should count for a kid being present at school. So we've had to maneuver that as well as continue to teach during the pandemic. I think that what this has shown us is that online education will probably more than likely be around for years to come. And it's going to really highlight the fact that some students can be educated online and not have to be in school, right? So one of the things that I know we've been talking about within the state is, should schools be able to continue online learning? We've had some kids that have really done very well with online learning. A lot of the times in the media right now, you'll only hear about the individuals who have been failing. And unfortunately, you are going to have some students that are going to fail, because being educated in a non-traditional way and moving everything virtually is an adjustment. A lot of adults don't like doing things online. You had to adjust to doing Zoom meetings. So that is an adjustment. But I think from an educational standpoint, especially within the state of Texas, the idea that online learning can be done, especially if it's developed properly, will remain. So I know that conversations such as that is going to come up. The only thing that we're going to have to really figure out is really how to tap in on the fact that students need to check in every day so schools can get that funding. And once that's actually developed and brought to the forefront as something that people want to truly consider, I can see us moving in that direction. But again, you'll have to address the issue of students not having technology. And the thing about it is, school districts, even through the pandemic, when students went without, a lot of school districts went out and went ahead and used their fund balance and bought extra devices. Some people received grants for extra devices. I know that my school district, we were already planning on buying devices, and we just sped up that purchase and purchased a little bit more than what we were going to. But you know, if you have a healthy fund balance and you're able to make the important purchases that are ultimately going to benefit students, then your school board is probably going to approve that, and then you'll be able to make those tough decisions that are ultimately going to benefit your students. So the purchasing of new devices, that absolutely occurred in school districts that had the funds to be able to do that. Now, some school districts just were not in a financial situation to where they were able to do that. And again, you get to the haves and the have-nots. If a school district was unable to do that, then it comes down to, well, what else are we able to do to make sure our students have what they need? So applying for grants, paying for it flat out, school districts had to make that decision. And ultimately, a lot of people did that this past semester, especially going into August of 2020.
Kim, thanks so much for your insight. Is there anything else that you think we need to know going forward about closing the digital gap?
Well, when you talk about closing the digital gap, this is something that teachers have been fighting for years. Equity in education, you'll hear that term, but what does that truly mean? It means that when you go through a pandemic, you're not trying to figure out a way for students to connect. You're not trying to figure out ways that students can continue to do their work if they're unable to go to school in person. So when you think about equity in education, it's everything, and it should not take a global pandemic to bring awareness to it. This is something that educators have been fighting for a while. And I just hope that because we have gone through the global pandemic and we're going through it and we're seeing the need, I hope that it remains at the forefront of individuals' thoughts when they're making the decisions. When we're going out there to vote for individuals who say that they are for education, they should put that in the forefront. They should know, or, it should be very clear that they are for equity in education. And that means that if you have students or teachers that are teaching in an economically disadvantaged school district, that despite that, they still have ways to connect. Students still have access to technology, because what we've learned is that if we're going to be in a global pandemic, if we can't educate our students in person, we're going to go virtually. And if kids are going to go virtually, they need devices.
Thanks so much, Kim.
Okay, thank you.